up, Cinema Shogun here, and a lot of you all have been asking me for Bob Saget updates, but there's not really much going on. There's no new information out there. In fact, there's more questions than there are answers. However, I am going to be in the area of Bob Saget's hotel, the hotel at which he died at, pretty soon, and I'm going to make an effort to see if I could somehow maybe get into his room or even book his room and stay in his room for the night, although I do not want to sleep in the same bed that he died in, so that kind of freaks me out. Now, I know there's a video on YouTube of someone who supposedly got into his room, but I want to go look around the Ritz-Carlton myself, just to see how it makes me feel, to see if I could spot anything weird. I mean, it's been a while since he passed away, but I just want to see kind of the layout of the hotel. I want to see how much staff is walking around, and I just want to really get a feel for the location in which he passed away. But while looking for new information on Bob Saget, I ran across some things that his wife recently said. And, you know, you could take what she said in many ways. For one, it's heartbreaking. For two, it's kind of creepy. And for three, maybe you could say it's kind of suspicious. Now, a lot of people don't believe that Bob Saget slipped, fell, hit his head, and died. I definitely don't believe that. I am not here to say who or what is responsible, but I don't think his death is an accident. Now, of course, most people have been pointing the finger at his wife. Oh, his wife must have did this, his wife wanted insurance money, what have you. I don't necessarily believe that his wife did it or had someone do it. I believe that if Bob Saget was murdered, it's a way bigger situation than just a disgruntled, significant other. Although maybe she does know something. A lot of people think that she thinks that she does because she actively blocked information about his autopsy from coming out to the public. So even though people were already pointing fingers at her and were suspicious of her, once she blocked that information from coming out, people just went no holds barred. Like, yeah, this woman knows something. And there's a possibility that she knows something, but she wasn't involved. You know, these people in Hollywood, they know how Hollywood works. And eventually your time comes when you sign those deals. But let's take a look at what she had to say. Bob Saget's widow, Kelly Rizzo, said the late comedian is still my husband, but acknowledged that the relationship is different. Okay. The relationship would obviously be different because he's dead. And I'm going to go ahead and warn you all. She says some things here that kind of threw me off. And everyone deals with grieving differently. I'm not saying that she's crazy for saying the things that she says. I just kind of find it odd a little bit, especially when you just consider the circumstances surrounding his death. But Kelly Rizzo actually joined Amanda Klutz on The Talk, and they talked about their husbands because this woman's husband actually passed away recently as well. And Kelly Rizzo says, it's like he's still my husband. It's not like he's my former husband. It's like the relationship is different now. It's just, it is what it is. So that makes me feel weird. Yeah, your husband passes away. That doesn't mean he's not your husband. He's your husband forever. You're going to love him forever. You probably will never get over something like that. You know what I mean? But when you're like, oh, well, our relationship is different now. That's where it's just like, I guess that it just strikes me as odd. If someone tells me, hey, the relationship I have with this dead person, it's a little different now than when they were alive, I would look at them like they were batshit crazy. Like, what in the hell are you talking about? So when she says this, although I understand that it's probably coming from a place of like grieving, and it still makes me like, okay. And I don't say that to be insensitive. I've lost a lot of people in my life, okay? I've lost a lot of loved ones in my life. So I understand the feeling of losing someone that's extremely close to you. However, I guess maybe I have a different way of dealing with grief. I never thought of it as, hey, our relationships are different now. You know, like my mother passed away right before I turned 16, like a couple of weeks before my 16th birthday. Never in the 15 years now since she's passed away have I ever thought, you know what? You know, my relationship with my mom is totally different now than when she was alive. You know, I don't think like that. I just feel like that's an odd thought. You know, it's like, obviously, things are different now, but she's acting like they still have a relationship here, but it's just different. Whereas he's gone. I mean, teach his own, teach their own. She added that all of her deceased loved ones are still there in her heart and mind. Okay. Now, how can I put this? Once again, I'm not trying to sound insensitive here. And like I said, I'm coming from a place, from someone who's lost a lot of people. Like, if I told you the type of stuff that I've been through in my life, it's been kind of tough. Let's just put it like that. But when I'm watching this, or when I'm reading this, I kind of have some questions here because, okay, the loved ones that I've lost, they're still in my heart. And I guess you could say they're still in my mind because I think about them all the time. Often I have dreams about them, things of that nature. But when she says her loved ones are still in her mind, and then she goes forward in a minute, she's going to talk about how she still communicates with Bob Saget. So now I'm wondering, like, are you hearing Bob Saget's voice in your head? Like, is he talking to you? Like, you know, I don't really know here. You'll notice I still don't say the D word, death. I say the day that everything happened, Rizzo said Wednesday. Now, that right there makes me feel like this woman still hasn't come to the realization. Maybe that's the wrong way to put it. That almost like this woman is in, I don't want to say, is it denial? Or she hasn't fully accepted what has happened yet. She says that she still can't say, you know, the D word. She can't say that Bob Saget's dead. She doesn't talk about the day he died. She talks about the day that everything happened. Well, what is everything? You know what I mean? When I think of my past loved ones who passed away, I don't think of, oh, yeah, I remember the day that everything happened. I think of the day they passed away because they passed away. Now, she's saying the day that everything happened makes me seem like, or makes me feel like the day he died, there was a lot of things happening besides him just slipping, so-called, and falling in his head. So what is everything that happened that day? You understand what I'm saying? Now, I understand that she was probably put through a whirlwind, and when you're married to someone who's famous and they pass away, it's obviously probably different than when, you know, someone passes away that you love and they're not famous. So I just feel like it's kind of weird that she can't accept not only the word death, but she just calls the day he died the day that everything happened. But hey, like I said, everyone deals with everything differently. I'm not trying to read into this stuff too much because she is free to grieve however she feels necessary. You know, if this is what makes her feel better, and if, you know, then more power to her. Now, as I've told you all before, just a couple of months after he passed away, she moved out of their house. She sold his home and gave away a ton of his belongings. And, you know, I felt some type of way about that. I think a lot of other people did as well, because here we have this guy who mysteriously passes away. None of us believe his cause of death. Then we have his wife, who he hasn't been married to for terribly too long. She's a little younger than him. And she comes and is like, hey, I'm going to go to court and make sure no details about his death come out. That's you know, number one, what she did. And then number two, I'm going to sell his home and I'm going to start giving away his stuff. Yet she's sitting here like she's still grieving over him, and she can't accept the word death, and she can't do this, she can't do that. Yet automatically sold this man's home. Automatically started giving away his things. So I feel like while everyone grieves differently, a lot of this isn't matching up to me. So you're still stuck on his death. You're still torn apart by his death. You still feel like you're in a relationship, even though your relationship's a little different now. Yet you decided, hey, I'm going to sell the house. I'm going to give away his stuff. I'm going to make sure no one else can find out the details surrounding his death. Hey, whatever. I mean, if that's what she wants to do. Now, this is where it starts getting weird to me. She says that although she moved to this new home, that she keeps Bob Saget's memory alive. And then she goes on to say that she still talks to him. She says that she's still in communication with Bob Saget, although he's dead. And that she has pictures of him everywhere in her house. Now, when she sold this home and started giving away her belongings, I pointed out that I thought it was too soon, and I thought it was kind of weird and suspicious. But I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt in thinking that, hey, you know, maybe being in this house is tough for her. Maybe being surrounded by constant reminders of Bob Saget is tough for her. So maybe she wants to sell the house, give away these belongings, because that's how she is dealing with the grief. Because like I said, we all grieve differently. I'm not a judge here to tell you how to grieve the death of your loved ones. And I don't want to be viewed as trying to be that way with Kelly. However, obviously she didn't sell the house because, the memories were getting to her. Obviously she didn't give away his belongings because it was hard to see them. Because she's saying that her new home, she surrounded it, or basically filled it with Bob Saget photos and memories of Bob Saget. But when she says that she still talks to him, that's when I really question things. Because, all right, I think all of us that have loved ones that we've lost, maybe we've asked them questions in our head, or something of that nature. But I don't have full-blown conversations with the people I've lost. Now, like I said, everyone deals with things differently. But she says that Bob Saget's daughters came to stay with her for the first time since she moved in to her new house. And at one point, they walked in and she had to warn them. So it's kind of like a museum for your dad, so don't freak out. But yeah, he's everywhere. So she basically described her new home as a museum for Bob Saget. That Bob Saget photos and relics and memories are just all over the house, like a damn museum for Bob Saget. So why did you sell his house? Why did you start giving away his belongings? And why did it take for people calling you out about that to turn your house into this museum for Bob Saget? I don't know. It seems like someone who doesn't have much closure. It seems like someone who maybe hasn't accepted what has happened. Whereas, when you have someone die this spontaneously, let alone to something as weird as falling and hitting their head on a floor in a hotel room, then, I don't know how you get closure from that. Not only is it totally unexpected, it just, sorry to sound mean, it just seems so stupid. Damn, that's a dumb way to die. Like, why? It seems so easily avoidable. It seems so like, damn. It has to be a shock. Assuming that you think this is real. I don't think it's real. But if she does, in her mind, thinks that Bob Saget slipped and fell and hit his head, that has to be like, kind of mind-blowing to you at the same time. But then she goes on to say that Bob Saget's daughters often catch her talking to him through his pictures. Here's the exact quote. And then they'll catch me, like talking to a picture every once in a while. And they'll ask me, are you okay? No, I don't think she's okay. I don't think she's okay. When it gets to the point that people are walking in the room and you're having full-blown conversations with pictures of your dead husband, I think then we really have to question things. And, you know, like I said, this is a really difficult topic to talk about because I don't want to seem insensitive and I don't want to come across in a mean way. But I'm trying to keep it as real here as possible without being mean. You know what I mean? So I don't know exactly what this woman's going through. I haven't lost a significant other, you know? But I've lost a lot of close family members and friends. And never have I sat down and had a conversation with them through a picture. And I feel like that may be a sign of feeling a little guilty. Maybe it's a sign of, man, it's really, this one, like I said, this one's really tough. I feel it shows that she doesn't have much closure, that she hasn't accepted what has happened, and maybe she doesn't have closure, and maybe she hasn't accepted what has happened because she feels somewhat guilty about it, or something of that nature. But when it gets to the point that people are walking in the room and you're talking to photos of dead people, I think we have to question some things, like your mental health. Are you okay? How are you really dealing with this? And if you want to take it one step further, why are you dealing with things this way? You know, why are you dealing with things this way? Is it because of something else? Is there something else going on here that leads you to feel this way besides just your husband passing? You know what I mean? But at the very least, I think we should question, is this woman okay? Because she's basically saying that she's still in contact with Bob Saget in the afterlife. I mean, earlier on, we hear that she's talking about how their relationship is different. Then we hear how she has her house just jam-packed with Bob Saget pictures and stuff like that. And then we have her talking about how she talks to Bob Saget still, and that she talks to him through his pictures. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning of this video, when she was like, hey, our relationship was a little different now, that's where I started. That's why I started feeling weird about that. I mean, hearing that in the first place is kind of like, okay, yeah, I get it. But then when you hear that, and then on top of that, you're like, oh, okay, she's talking to her dead husband through pictures. And earlier on, she says, yeah, you know, we're still together. We're still married. Our relationship is just different. That's where it's like, okay, so are you still in a full-blown relationship with this man in your mind? Are y'all still having full-blown conversations? Do you really feel like you're talking to him in the afterlife? What type, you know, is this some type of cult type stuff that's going on here? I don't know. I'm not trying to say it is. I'm just saying it's all weird. It's just all weird. This is just as weird as the details surrounding his death. But everyone grieves differently. And I just want to hammer that home because some of you all out there may have lost loved ones. And maybe you all talk to their pictures. I don't know. You know, I'm just saying that's not something I do. It's not something that I've seen people do. And I don't know if it's necessarily the best thing for people to be doing. But everyone deals with things differently. But she goes on to say that she knows Bob Saget would want her to be there for her daughters, or for his daughters, and that she's really happy that she could be there for them, and that they take her mind off of him. So yeah, that's the only update we have about Bob Saget right now. The details surrounding his death are very questionable, very suspicious, but the investigation is closed. There's no one else looking into it anymore. It's done with. You know, I don't think we're going to get any other answers. When it gets to a point where like his own family and his own loved ones, not only have they accepted his cause of death, but they are actively trying to stop other people from finding out details, it gets to a point where it's just like, what can we do? You know? We're not like, do we go against his own wife and his own kids? You know what I mean? Finding out what happened to Bob Saget, you would think the main beneficiary of finding out what really happened to him would be his family. But when his own family is trying to cover up what happened to him, it's just like, what do we do? You know, what can we do? All we can do is be like, hey, Bob Saget died. R.I.P. to that man. Obviously, there's some shady shit going on here. I mean, I could say so much, but I don't like saying too much on this platform. But I just feel like there's just a lot of dark, evil things going on behind the scenes. I feel like Bob Saget was taken out. I'm never going to stop thinking that until I see evidence otherwise. And I will go so far as to say, if Bob Saget's family had a problem with the theories that are going on surrounding his death, they could have solved all of that by simply not blocking the details. But they chose to block the details for a reason. And now we have Bob Saget's wife walking around a house, talking to his photos, talking about how their relationship has changed within the past couple of months, even though he's dead. But I want to know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. Is this normal to you all? How do you all deal with grief? You know, does this in the very least sound suspicious for you all? And forgive me if in this video, maybe I seem kind of off, but it's just because I'm still processing what she's saying here, and I don't know exactly what direction to take in order to tackle this topic. Because on one hand, like I've said countless times in this video, we have someone that is supposedly a grieving wife, grieving the unexpected, totally mysterious death of her husband. And on the other hand, we have this guy who was mysteriously wound up dead in his hotel room. It's just a lot to unpack. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. And as always, I'll talk to you on the next video.